Hello. Okay. Am I good at getting echoes? Okay, look like I'm having some echo. Okay, just give me 1 second. I need to fix this. Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me clearly now? Good. Good. Yeah, sorry for those technical hitches there. I actually have a playback. Oh my God, it's funny sometimes, when you're transmitting and you have something else transmitting beside you and like two of you talking at the same time, and I know I'm the only one here. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Well, it's just around 5 o'clock in my own time. I know for some of you, this is 7 p.m. For those joining us from Nigeria, I know this should be around 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. your time. Those joining from East Africa, this should be around 3 a.m. And for our brethren in Australia, New Zealand, I know this is going to be, you're probably busy at work now. And for our viewers from UK and from wherever you're watching us from, you're welcome to today's episode of the Government North America talk show. You'll be surprised that I'm here alone. Don't worry, my co-host is actually unavoidably absent. She really wished to be here at this time, but well, it is what it is. So want to thank God for giving us this opportunity once more time to have our season 2, episode 4 of the Government North America single talk show. And yeah, we've looked at some episodes in the past. We've seen episode 1, to have and to hold. That was taken by our pastor. That's taken by our national overseer. In person of Pastor Taiwo Fagbi. Then we had our episode 2, positioning yourself rightly for marriage, and that was taken by Deaconess Yemi Agbola, and she actually came back again for episode 3, exploring matchmaking and online dating. And as an offshoot of that episode, we're actually having our episode 4 today. Of course, you know who the guests are already. You have them already on the flyers, so there is nothing secret about that. But let me quickly say this before I bring up our guests who are already seated in the back studio. Well, by on June 28th to July 1st is a Chosen Generation Takeover Conference. And I'm sure you're excited to be in that conference. It's going to be great. So I expect every youth in government North America, whether you're in Mexico, you're in Canada, anywhere you are expected to be at that. Of course, everyone in the United States supposed to be in that conference coming up on June 28th to July 1st at 60 Sandy Cove Road, Northeast Maryland. I'm going to be connecting with some of you that day. Oh, you want to see me? Yes, I'm going to be there. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So let's make it a date this year, Chosen Generation Takeover Conference. So let's back to our talk show. So today I'm so much delighted to have my brother and my sister, Deepo Adeshina and Faithful Adeshina. Good to have you guys on the show again today.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having us, sir.
you. Thank you, sir, for having us.
Oh, great! Yeah, I know for Deepo, this is coming back again, and for Faithful, this is your first time on the show, and super delighted to actually have the two of you. I was just thinking about the time people actually spend whenever we invite them to this talk show, and I know that it is not just the 1 hour of their time that is spent on this talk show that is actually given to the program. A lot of preparations, a lot of, in fact, as a matter of fact, they do more work than we, the hosts, because they do all the talking, they do all the research, they do everything. So I really want to give it up to you guys. Thank you.
All right, I think he might have went off.
Okay. Oh my God, I got kicked out from my own studio. Who does that?
It's all good.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. You know that's one funny thing about this virtual thing. It's only in a virtual program that even you as a pastor can be kicked out of the program. And the members are wondering what happened as rapture taking place. No, no, it's not.
Man, that was second to be won't be here. Will be gone.
you, you're right. If it is if rapture taking place, you're not gonna be there. I remember
Mm.
a joke sometime we went somewhere and my wife they saw my jacket and people were like, "Where is Pastor?" And somebody said, "Rapture taking place." My wife now answered them, "If rapture had happened, what are you doing here? You are not supposed to be there." Oh yeah. Well, we thank God that actually happened. If that repeats itself again, just go on talking. I will get connected again. Okay, so I have Brother Deepo and Faithful Additioner who is gonna be exploring this topic today on navigating long distance relationship. But before that, let me introduce this couple to you. I'm sure a lot of us will know them already. Brother Deepo and Faithful Additioner are entrepreneurs and not just entrepreneur. I call them serial entrepreneur. I'm sure you've seen Deepo do his things all over YouTube, all over Instagram, or everywhere on TikToks, and like, oh my God, this guy knows everything about business. But today he's not going to be talking business. He's going to be talking something more serious. I think more serious than business. And so both of them are entrepreneurs and they've been married for almost 12 years. Wow, are you still looking so young?
Yeah.
they've, been, they've been married for 12 years and after being in a long distance relationship for 2 years. As a matter of fact, I think this is actually what makes it, oh no, we need to speak to this couple because this is not about searching Google. This is about hearing from them live. So if we got to do any Google search today, it's going to be Googling these two people because they have the experience to share with us. So by God's grace, they are blessed with three children. So let's give a round of applause for what God is doing in the life of this couple.
Thank you.
God bless you, sir. God bless you, Mer.
Thank you,
Amen.
sir.
Okay, so let's go straight into our discussion. Brother Deepo and Sister Faithful, or let me just call you Deepo and Faithful. Permit me to use that.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, great. So Deepo and Faithful, you guys, I once heard it from Deepo actually when he talks briefly about your relationship. So can one of you just start up? How did you both actually meet?
Yeah, it was a very unique connection. I think it happened back in 2009, and it wasn't, of course, something that we planned for. It just happened by divine providence. So at that time, my brother and I actually traveled to Nigeria in 2009. So my brother stayed back in Nigeria while I came back to the United States. So I think a couple of months later, he called me with this, his female friend at the time that, she had a friend who was a, born again Christian. She loves God and all these things. And with the little that she knew about me, that I was also born again. I like reading my Bible and they thought we would be a great match.
Hmm.
And like most people, I personally, I was not interested in long distance relationship. Same thing for my wife. It was not something we were actively pursuing a relationship, but due to their persistence, we decided to say, all right, let's, give me her number and I'll reach out to her. And I think I reached out to her maybe a few weeks after that. And our first conversation, I think we spoke for, over 2 hours. And we just kind of clicked and connected. And that was kind of like the genesis of, of everything.
Hmm. Okay, so to put it in perspective, you were in the United States,
Mhm.
and your wife to be then was in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so Faithful, tell us your own side of the story.
So, like you said, we, a friend of mine who was at the time dating his younger brother, then
Okay.
reached out to me. He actually came to my house one day and was like, "Oh, Faithful, I met this. I'm in relationship with this guy who lives in the US, and he has a brother, a brother God fearing, he loves God just like you do. Anytime I speak with his brother, who is my boyfriend, um, he's always, when I ask about his brother, he's always like, his brother is, studying the Bible, praying, and all that. And they were talking, each other. I'm like, I have a friend that that's like your brother who loves God, who
Okay.
prays, and she was like, I just want you guys to just talk, even if nothing comes out of it, just be friends. And I was like, well, I'm not into long distance relationship, but with her persistence and all that, I was like, okay, let's, if he calls me, we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk, And so she said, her boyfriend is going to talk to his brother and maybe give him my number and he's going to call. I was like, okay. Well, and he called one day, and like you said, we just got talking and spoke for, this long hours, and we're like, wow, because I believe that there was because of that connection that we had, that spiritual thing that we both had. That's how it was able to, like, we were able to spark and start that relationship. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us that perspective. My question is, before you guys were introduced to each other, were you? Is it that you were not really eyeing somebody like Bro Dickmore? There are a lot of other sisters and ladies in the US. Is it that you were not really looking at all before this blank check was given to you?
Man, my eyes was on making money, man. I was strictly business. That was all I was worried about, man. So yeah, that was it. I mean, it was just always, I think it was been a year since I graduated from college, so it was
Oh,
more
I see.
like just kind of get myself together, making money, just kind of, being a
Mm,
responsible adult at that time. So that was not necessarily my focus.
mm,
It just, like I said, everything just kind of lined up, and I think, to anybody who might be listening to this, once you are on your path and you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing at the right time, that lines start to fall into you in pleasant places, right?
mm,
Because if I wasn't responsible, if I didn't have a job, if I wasn't able to take care of myself, there's no business of, there's no room to talk about even getting married, if that makes sense. So
mm,
the foundation kind of led to
mm.
everything building on top of each other.
Wow, wow!
And that
I
doesn't
love
mean he
that.
didn't have,
Go on, go on, go on,
sorry,
go
I
on.
was trying yeah, I was trying to say that doesn't mean he didn't have previous relationships, you know,
Okay.
before I came on the scene. But at that time, he was single,
Right,
you
right,
know.
Oh, I.
certainly.
Okay,
Mm.
certainly. Okay, okay, okay. Not that you just coming broke the equation. Yeah, so we really totally understand that. So, how about you, Faithful? Were you just How come when somebody tell you somebody's coming from somebody perhaps might be interested from the United States? What was running through your mind at that time?
So at that time, I think I just gave my life to Christ 3 years ago. That was
Wow.
2006. Of course, I was born in a pastor's home. I'm a daughter of a pastor, but it's two different things to be born
Mm,
in that kind of environment, and it's another thing for you to have a personal relationship with God.
relationship.
So
Mm,
in 2006, I met the Lord, had an
mm,
encounter with God, and had, a personal, received Him into my life.
mm,
And I was in a relationship with Jesus. 2006. And then it was 3 years after that, my friend came and told me about,
Mm.
my
This Jim
husband now.
brother.
Yeah. And then, of course, guys were coming. Guys were, coming from church. My father was like an overseer, that the
Of course,
GO
everybody
in
wants to marry the
and
pastor's
he
daughter.
still is. I think so. So guys were, coming, and at that time, because I just gave my life to Christ, how hungry, how,
Mm.
it was just their coming and proposal was like they were disturbing me because I was hungry for God. I just gave my life to God. I want to know Him. I was
Mm.
pressing. You know how it is,
Mm. Mm.
and it was just like they were disturbing. I was like, no, 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 not you, not you. I didn't even ask God sincerely. I was not ready for marriage because I was enjoying God
Mm.
sincerely. And then
Mm.
when my friend came, and I'll tell you a story. I was enjoying God, but then at a point, I was eyeing one brother in the church. So to be real,
Hmm.
there was a brother,
Confession time.
there was a, there was a fine, dark, tall, handsome guy I was eyeing in the church, and I went to my father God and like, that is the relation, that is what I would advise every single, before you go into any relationship, before you build relationship with any guy, build a relationship with God. It's not a
Yeah.
cliche. It is for real. He is your GPS. He will guide you through it. He's your informant. And how far with this your son? Like, I like him. What's up? As in, is he your will for me? Like, and God, I think it was that very night or the next night, the way he speaks to me through dreams, and other channels too, but mainly through dreams. And he opened my eyes to see that this guy was getting married. I just saw him getting married to somebody else in the dream, and in
Oh,
reality he was single. And I got the message. That
that was clear.
is it was a lifesaver for me. Yeah, you can't afford to,
Mm.
like, dilly dally with your, marital destiny. No, you have to
Mm.
act. Always go back to,
Mm.
the creator
Mm.
of the institution, the creator of marriage, and that is how he told me, like, the guy was, getting married. I just saw him getting married to somebody else, and I got the message that, that is not my husband. And you won't believe it, that the guy wasn't even asking the lady out yet. And then when he started asking her out and asking her to marry him, the lady was, being difficult. And I had to be the one to tell them, see, I saw I saw God showed me that this is, of course I didn't tell them why why
Mm.
God showed me that was I no I didn't tell them that, but God used me to, so it was crazy. Yeah. Before then, that was before I gave my life to Christ. Of course, I've had really other relationship, but then I wasn't. I was single, and when she said, you guys just be friends, just talk and see
Mhm.
how where it leads. I said, okay, let's talk, and that's how it started.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing those powerful insights and stories there. And I'm sure every single person listening to us are actually getting a lot of things from this discussion. So over to you, Deepo. At what point did you get convinced that no, I think I have to go get this woman? She's really the right person for me. At what point in this journey?
Yeah, I think obviously the first time we talked, we connected, but there was still the need where the understanding needed to come in place. I remember our general Wasir once said that even if an angel comes from heaven, that this is your wife, you will still have challenges, right? So it wasn't, yes, we prayed, we fasted, did the spiritual things, but we still needed to go through the process of knowing each other.
Mm,
So we started talking in May 2009, and December 2009 I traveled to Nigeria. And I think this is a lesson here. You know, when I traveled to Nigeria, I remember buying a ring. I was ready to propose, like, let's get this thing going. So I got to Nigeria. This is my official first time meeting her, because
mm,
phone conversation, text messages is different from in person relationship, meeting and
that's right.
talking with the person. So when we met, I spent the whole month in Nigeria that December to just kind of, remember, just due to, we had clashes, right? Because it wasn't all rosy. The personality difference was also there. So when I started to notice those things, I came back to the United States with the ring.
Whoa.
And I said, I don't, because, yes, we believed that we were going to get married, but there's still a time to get a better understanding of who you're getting into a relationship with.
Mm,
So it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen automatically. It took a period of 2 years, right, of traveling, meeting, interacting, phone conversation, video, messaging, to come to the point we said, you know what, all right, I think we're ready to now move it to that next level.
hmm. Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, what are other challenges that you actually face in in that long distance relationship? What
Um,
are the challenges? Yeah.
so I think I would say, obviously, I think personality differences, that was huge,
Okay.
because for us, back then, we weren't really too educated when it comes to the different types of personalities, right? It was
Mm,
more so, like my wife said, spiritually we were grounded, but when it comes to understanding what makes a person behave a certain way, what makes a person act the way they do, we didn't understand that. So at that time, I'm a very relaxed, introverted person, and
mm,
my wife, I mean, she's different now. She's more like an introvert now, but then she was an extroverted person, strong personality, and that was a huge clash for us initially because we didn't understand those differences. But like I said, as we continue to read books, really just being intentional about the relationship, that things started to change.
mm.
Um, the second thing I would say is, the communication, the distance, obviously,
Okay.
right? Because if you're building a relationship, obviously it makes sense to want to be in the same place with that person so you can see them
Mm-hmm.
more often. But we thank God because during that time, we had, if people are still familiar with Yahoo Messenger, right? We were using Yahoo Messenger. We were writing emails. I mean, we still have emails from over 12, 13 years ago. We were doing BlackBerry just came out that time. So that
Yeah.
also made it easier for us to constantly communicate for free, without paying a long distance, what you call it. So those are like the core challenges that I know we faced then, but
Mm.
now things are a lot easier, when it comes to that communication barrier.
And thank you, sir, for that. And Faithful, being back home in Nigeria, what were your biggest challenges with this guy who lives in the US? And what were challenges either from friends, families, and people around you?
For me, the biggest challenge is this guy for real? Is he the Christian or the born again Christian that he professed to be? Is
Mm,
he for real? And this challenge cuts across whether long distance or short distance. You never
mm,
know. Even the
mm.
person that you talk to every day face to face, you cannot know. And this is where I always, sorry, I'm going to always go back because it is my reality. This is what
That's right.
worked for
Sure.
me.
It's your story.
This is what worked. Yeah, it's my story. And how would I know if this person is for real, if he's the born again Christian that he claims to be? I had to go to God. God, x-ray him, do an x-ray
Hmm.
on this guy and show it to me. Is he for real? Because I'm your daughter. I know you love me. So I know you will not allow me fall into,
Hmm.
the hand of a scammer, So I told him, Lord, x-ray this guy to me. And he always speaks to me. I know I trust him. He would never, allow me make a mistake. But he didn't. There was no red flag. There was no,
Wow.
yeah. So I saw it as a sign, another sign. Of course, there were other signs, but I saw that as a sign, of as in to go ahead.
Wow, thank you so much. And like you rightly pointed out, the place of prayers in relationship is so very, very key. And the fact that you guys were able to also navigate even those communication challenges was very, very powerful. So in terms of communication, how often were you communicating? And the reason why I'm asking this is because of people who probably are in a long distance relationship currently. There is this thing I call the WhatsApp double tick syndrome. It's just mine. You can't find it anywhere on Google. I'm just the one making that up. Yeah, from experience, I realized that when two people are communicating, especially with WhatsApp these days, although there is no WhatsApp in your days, even though BlackBerry pins still have those ways to show that a message has actually been read. So
Sure.
a lot of the times people complain, perhaps, oh, now I send her a message, the message is delivered, is read. 3 hours later, he's not responding. She's not responding. Only God knows who is she with right now. I don't know why will she be online at this time of the day. This is supposed to be 2 a.m. in Nigeria. Is she chatting with somebody else? What is going on? I'm talking to her. She's not responding. Lots of suspicion, lot of issues around communication. How were you guys able to manage that so that, for example, you said an email, you expect to get a reply within 24 hours, getting any response, those challenges, even though those tools are there, they can also pose significant challenges when people begin to monitor their phones, monitor their communications almost every minute. So two questions in one. How were you able to manage that? And how often were you communicating?
Yeah, excellent question. So we were communicating every day because
Okay.
that, like I said, the only thing that you have going for a long distance relationship is communication. So if we're living in proximity, I can go
Mm,
one day without talking to you because I can see you tomorrow. But
mm,
that long distance, you have to make sure, even if it's just hi, hello, how was your day today? Those little small conversation is keeping that fuel burning. As far as like monitoring each other, I think if you trust, and I guess that's really what the bottom line is.
mm,
If you trust the other party, then you have nothing to worry about,
mm,
right? I think the challenge is when the other party is giving you something to worry about, meaning they did something that proved that they were, untrustworthy, right?
mm,
And then also keeping in mind that in long distance, you have, time differences. You have situations where your other party is working. Sometimes I would ask same thing. Like sometimes I would ask my wife then, what how come you didn't respond? Right. My wife, she was a administrative assistant, I think, at that time. So her schedule was a little bit hectic, right? So like when you understand these little nuances, it kind of makes that a little bit easier. But if I was to sum it all up, once you trust the other person you are in a relationship with, then the whole um, emphasis on what are they doing, where are they, who might they be talking to. All of that goes out the window, right? Because you've built that trust and you know that they, they're for real, just like my wife said.
Hmm. So, Faithful, do you want to add anything to that?
I would say I agree. It has everything to do with trust, and you just trust the person and understanding,
Hmm.
that this is the situation with her, with that partner. She might be at work, he might be busy, and so that trust and understanding had everything to do with whether we were successful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys. I love that point on understanding. That is actually very key. And yeah, eh, giving your partner the benefit of the doubt, that is also that is part of the understanding you guys are actually talking about. Because if you, just like you
Absolutely.
rightly asked her, why is it that you didn't respond to my email? That's a very nice one. Unlike,
Hmm.
oh no, you don't always respond to my email. Is something wrong with you? You don't love me enough. If I matter in your life, you're not gonna treat me as a second person. You should like me more than
Mm.
your work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but when you give your partner that benefit, and I'm saying this for viewers or those that are going to be listening to this, watching this afterward, if you send your partner a message and after some hours or maybe the expected time, the person is not responding, the first thing you want to uh, think about is she all right? Is she okay? Is
Hmm.
everything good with him? If
Hmm.
is she, you know, that empathy, that sense of empathy from you will make that person, and with trust that, oh no, I know this person will not deliberately ignore my messages. This person is not going to
Hmm. Hmm.
deliberately hate me. Something perhaps happened. And these are actually keywords in relationship that even outside a marital relationship, it is also very key. Brother to brother, pastor to members, members to pastors. If we all give ourselves the benefit of the
absolutely.
doubt, where we always think positive about the other person, we're going to actually
Hmm.
have less and less problems. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna change the gear a little bit. Thank you. I've given all the spotlights on you guys. Perhaps okay. No, before I change the spotlights from you, so tell me the story about how you eventually moved to the U.S., how you did your wedding, and happily living ever after. I want to conclude that side of the story before I move to another side.
Sure. So yeah, we of course we courted for about 2 years, and after that, we got the blessing from our parents to move to the next step. So we got married 2 years later. The wedding left up to me, we would have had a very gentle wedding. Because I'm always about being very economical and conserving
Saving money.
resources. But exactly. But I think when it comes to weddings and things like that, it's mainly for women because they want it a certain way, which is exactly what happened. But yeah, so we were able to do that successfully, and by God's grace, I did all the necessary paperwork, and within I think a month or two after the wedding in Nigeria, she came here, and we've been together since then. So that, I mean, that's pretty much the whole process of
Hmm.
of from when we started courting to when we got married, and now she's here and blessed with three
Okay,
kids.
thank you for that. And that leads me right into another question that I know our viewers will be very interested in asking. Now, Faithful, tell me, when you move from Nigeria and you're coming into United States of America with another different culture, you're gonna start meeting with people's friends who, even though some of them looks as if they're Nigerians, but a lot about their thinking, the way they do their things are different. everything around the culture is a very wide gap between the two cultures. How were you able to acclimatize? What were the challenges, and how are you able to actually settle in within this new culture and within this new environment, living with this man that has perhaps lived almost all his life here?
It took me a while to actually adapt to the new environment and all that, leaving family, friends behind and all. It took me a while, and he was fine with it. His support, and just saying, just take your time, you don't have to. He wasn't pushy and like, you have to go out with me, I have to, you have to meet people, you have to, I just, because I wasn't introverted, but I was kind of trying to calculate and know, just
Just kind of shy.
yeah, before before I, come out, and so it took me a while. But eventually I was able, thank God for, the church family,
I see.
which we are in, yeah, that, friendly, and people coming to you like, hi, what's up, and all that. And I was able to at last, acclimatize and adapt to the new environment.
To the new environment. Wow, thank you so much. And again, this question is actually for the two of you. One challenge that I've also seen with which is typical for long distance is the fact that you guys are kind of you've been away, you've not really been together, even though you talk on phone. Were there certain challenges or different between when you were just talking on phones, seeing each other once in a while, than when you've got to see yourself almost 24/7? Were there some challenges in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say, phone conversations, text messages, video calls, they're completely different when you're dealing with the person in person, because that's when you
Mm,
get to see who they really are, their personality. Like I said, when we first met, that personality was just my personality was very out there, hers was very out there. And I mean, we literally probably argued or even fought, I would say every week or every other day while I was there, because it was almost like, man, this person is not the same person I've been talking to over the phone,
I
right?
see.
Because you didn't get a chance to see how they would react in certain situations.
Yeah.
Once again, it's not to say that, we were either bad. It was just
I
that this is how we
mhm.
dealt with certain situations. So, um, those personalities, and my advice to young people, really, or anybody long distance, you got to get educated on personality differences, right? You got to make sure that when you're meeting with that person, forget all the lovey-dovey, oh, I miss you. Those go out the window pretty quickly. But it's great, but during those times, it should be about really trying to understand the person I'm going into a relationship with, because
Mhm.
that's going to be the determining factor whether or not the relationship will work out or not.
Wow, very powerful. Faithful, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I would say, what kind of helped us is that we, devoted ourselves to learning knowledge
Mm,
while we were dating. Knowledge, knowing, going. I think I was attending classes even before I met him. I was, going on marriage classes. I would advise singles, marriage classes, reading marital books, not
mm,
not out of anxiety, like, oh, when will it happen, Lord? Mm-mm. Because I know, he has, the Bible says, that he has a plan. The plan towards us is of good and not of evil, to give us
mhm,
the hope and the future. So I know God had everything, waiting for me, and I just had to align. I just had to be prepared, because it could happen at any time. So it was that preparation, it was that, knowledge that it could happen at any time. So I have to be prepared. I took classes, marital classes, I read books and all that. And so coming into it with that, knowledge, still there was still challenge. There will always be, whether you prepare or
Yeah.
not. You
Yeah.
are you are coming. You're going to be living with, it's like you're living with a stranger, somebody that is totally different,
Mm.
from you, and somebody you've never lived with before. So there will definitely be challenges, but that your relationship with God, your relationship with God. I'll tell singles, before you enter into any relationship, build that relationship, with God.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Build that relationship with God, and He would, if you would, before you submit, I tell ladies, before you submit to a man, first and foremost, be submitted to God. Because if you are submitted to God, then it will be easy to submit to a man, because whatever God tells you to do, you will do it, right? So
Mm.
if you are submitted, sometimes we can be stubborn, but if we are aligned, if we are committed and submitted to the Father, then we'll always come back, and do His bidding.
Wow, wow, what a powerful sharing of your stories today. I so much deeply appreciate the fact that you guys allowed yourself to be vulnerable, because it's not actually easy for a lot of people to tell their stories. So deep and faithful, we're so grateful. We're not rounding up yet.
Okay.
I'm just appreciating the fact that you guys were able to talk about your own personal challenges, even for others to learn from. And I believe a lot of singles are actually listening, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to watch this broadcast after now to understand what is really going on. So we just want to change the gear a little bit now. I'm going to change the spotlight from you guys now into the congregation. What advice? I'm sure you've really given pieces of advice even while you're talking about yourself. But let's just take this scenario, assuming we have a young guy or a young lady who is planning to go into a long distance relationship, not just because the person sat down and said, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go into a long distance relationship." I'm sure nobody actually say that per se, but assuming we have someone in the audience who probably a childhood friend, maybe from Lagos, from South Africa, from anywhere, or maybe perhaps somebody who chatted him or her up on Facebook, or maybe somebody like we talked about matchmaking, somebody introduced this person to you. The person is not living with you in North America or wherever you are. What advice will you give to that person, assuming that person comes to you and said, "There's this guy, there's this brother, we just want to go into a relationship"? What are those things that we should watch out for?
Yes. I would say number one, pay attention to anything that might appear as a red flag.
Hmm.
Because when you're in a relationship with someone, you go through this euphoria phase where everything is glamoring. You're seeing, oh, they're very courteous, they like to do this, and you overlook the littlest things. They, oh, it's not a big deal, but those little things tend to be big deals in a marriage, right? So as you're going through this relationship, you want to make sure that no matter how small it is, have a conversation about it, right? It could be the spending habit. It could be the time they come in late at night. It could be the type of whatever it is, right? You have to make sure that you don't let anything slide and you discuss all those little things. But I think for men, for the males, I would definitely say that make sure that you're financially ready before you go into a relationship, right? You're able to take care of yourself. You're not in any massive debt, because you don't want to bring somebody into debt. It just makes the marriage very complicated when you have monetary issues. So those would be like the two things that I would definitely say, one should should be aware of.
Okay. Thank you so much. How about you, Sister Faithful?
Yeah, I would agree with him. And to add to that, you cannot ignore the spiritual aspects, especially when it comes to long distance relationship. You don't know you don't know this person. This person, people put facades, all the time, so you have to ask God. You have to ask the Holy Spirit, is this person for us? Is this person your child? Is this
mm,
person, a born again Christian? And is he your will for my life? And you have to prepare, like I said. Prepare. Knowledge is key. You have to have, requisite knowledge about, marriage, um and the whole nine yards. And another thing is, um what was I going to say now? I know there's a third thing that
mm.
was on my, but I think I would, when I remember, I would
Holy
I would
Spirit,
mention.
help us.
Yeah, yeah, I know you've actually
Yeah,
said
yeah, I remember. Sorry. You have to, few days ago, the Holy Spirit was just giving me, a revelation about marriage. He
mm,
said, you're going into marriage, you're not going into marriage to fulfill each other's desire. You're going into
mm,
marriage to fulfill the desire of God. It's
mm,
like God sending, two people into the earth
mm,
with an assignment, as partners to fulfill his
mm,
desires, to do his bidding. And it's as you are fulfilling God's desire, that your desire is being fulfilled, because we are one. We're one with Christ. And God, he said he will give you the desires of your heart. He is the one that has put his desire in your heart, and is now your desire. So
mm,
go into marriage, knowing that is a kingdom assignment. Is a kingdom assignment. You're going, and God is sending you on an assignment with your partner, and so it becomes a little easier when, with that perspective, when the enemy throws challenges or storms of life, happens. You know that there is no backing down, because you cannot abort this assignment. You cannot
mm,
abort this assignment. It's bigger than the both of us.
mm.
It's a mission, is an assignment from God.
Wow, wow. Thank you guys for this powerful insight into this discussion. Very, 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 very powerful indeed. Talking about paying attention to red flags, because this is long distance, and having a conviction, and like our sister rightly mentioned, you've got to be double, double, double sure, because there are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of pretenders out there. The fact that you've known this guy when maybe 20 years ago in high school, and you've been on different level, and somehow he stumbled on your profile, and it's just the next thing is he want to marry you. You never know what has happened within those periods that
Mhm.
you guys were not together. So there's so much assignment in your hand before you can actually say yes into a long distance relationship. And like you rightly mentioned, the whole essence of marriage is fulfilling God's desire and fulfilling God's purpose. So you're going into marriage with a mind that, oh, this person I'm going to be getting married to is actually one way God wants us to work together to fulfill his purpose in life. And someone is actually stating that again. Thank you, Sister Grace, from Calgary. You're not going into marriage to fulfill each other's desire, but God's desire. That is spot on, man. God bless you for that, for restating that, for repeating that. Yeah, that was very powerful. Thank you guys for this. But others, before we go, I don't really feel like releasing you guys. Yeah, but before we round up, there's something I want us to quickly discuss. I know one of the things that young people are afraid of when it comes to long distance. In fact, I've had somebody ask me this directly. How are we going to be sure that if I want to marry this guy who lives in Kenya, who lives in Ghana, who lives in Nigeria, or who lives in Brazil, or who is in somewhere else, and I live in the United States, or live in America, or live in Canada, or live in UK, how am I sure that my partner is going to get her papers? How are we sure that when we are married, we're still going to be together and the long distance thing is not going to continue and we get married on WhatsApp and, and keep children on TikToks? So maybe from I know you don't have that personal experience because because you are able to come together. I don't know how soon that happened, so
Right.
I'm not sure whether that is applicable. But maybe from your personal story or from what you've heard from people, is this something that young people should be afraid of when it comes to resolving issues around papers?
Yeah, I think if your marriage is God ordained and it's in
Mm,
God's will, it's not possible for everything not to work out. It
mm,
just, I mean, God is not, He's not into separating people,
mm,
especially not intentionally. I mean, if you, maybe a husband has a job here and things like that, but
yeah.
I don't think if you're in God's will, that will be your portion forever, meaning you get
Mm,
denied and all that kind of good stuff. So, and if you do things the right way, things will definitely fall into, lines will fall into
mm,
pleasant places. And
mm.
for some people, you might have to wait a year because that's the process of, getting your papers. That has nothing
Okay.
to do with whether or not it's going to work out. Just sometimes things do take its course,
Oh,
right? And you have to
exactly.
be able to follow that process. But, I think, and if that happens to be the case, then you still have to be willing to go back and forth to still maintain that, in-person bonding.
Connection.
Oh dear,
Oh,
both of us.
oh, Faithful, you have something to say with that
No, I
about
was,
that?
yeah, I was going to say for us what we did, why it was
Okay.
that quick for me to come. I think we got married 2010.
11,
Is it
10,
10?
one,
Yeah.
one of those years.
Yeah. 2011, sorry. And I came, it was December, and I came like 2 months after. I think I was in the
Okay.
States in February, the end of February or so. We started while we were dating or while we were courting,
Okay.
we started the
The
process. That was when
process.
we started the process. So we started early. I think we started with fiancé visa or so, and that
Okay.
is why it was so. If you're thinking about, you're in a long distance relationship, you should think of starting it, because we knew we didn't want to stay apart for that long, while we got when we got married. So we started early.
Okay. Wow, that was so good. Thank you for sharing that. And for a lot of viewers watching us, speaking from my being in Canada, most people when they actually apply for spousal visa, oftentimes they actually get it. So I've seen a lot of people get married in Nigeria, and they're able to actually process their spouse's papers. And just like Deepo said, if you do the things rightly, there are proper procedures. Make sure you study those procedures so that there's not going to be surprises. If you follow the proper procedures for bringing your spouse to the United States or to Canada or to UK or to Australia or to wherever you are, you have those procedures ahead of time, study it, and like he rightly said again, if it is God's will, definitely He's going to perfect that which He has already started. So you make sure you're playing your own role perfectly, and you're also ensuring that you're praying and trusting God completely on that process. So to round up tonight, oh my God, we're already 55 minutes into the time we're going to be rounding up now. So I want you guys to actually share with our audience what are your parting words of advice to all our government North America singles and others that perhaps are watching this program this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the number one, that long distance relationship does work. If God is involved,
Hmm.
And the biggest thing is the word commitment. Both parties need to be committed to the process, right? Requires commitment, trust, and faithfulness. But if you're a God fearing person, I don't think you would have issues with any of those three things, because now both of you are in the same. You have the same vision. That's kind of what helped my wife and I, because even during that courting process, we've already projected into the future things we were going to be doing together. So that vision kind of drew us closer, and we kind of knew that this is the direction we're going. So it made the process a bit easier. So that would be my parting words. Long distance works. You have to be committed, you have to be trustworthy, and you have to be faithful.
Hmm. Thank you so much. And over to you, Faithful.
Yeah, what I will add is, as a single lady, as a single man, um, those are the years you should use. I'm always coming from the spiritual. Sorry,
Hmm.
forgive me, but that is my story. Those are the those are the years you should use to build, yourself, spiritually, physically, academically, and the whole 9 years, but especially spiritually. Build your relationship with God, build a solid, an intimate relationship with God, and relax. Don't, singles are always, anxious and like, when will I get married? When will I? No, relax. Your hands, your life is in God's hands. Once you give Him your life, once you're surrendered to Him, and you're serving Him with all your heart and with all your soul, He will not disappoint you. Don't, just relax. Yoruba will say faragbale.
Hmm.
Relax, you know,
Chill. Calm
chill,
down.
calm down. And I had that boldness because I knew my father. I knew, I think it's in First Samuel 2:30
Hmm.
B that said, but now the Lord said, for be it far from me, for those who
Hmm.
honor me, I will honor, and those who despise me, I would lightly esteem. So it's, how's your relationship? Do you highly honor him? Have you given, surrendered your whole life? Do you serve him with all your heart, with all your soul? Whatever you give, that is what you would get. That is what you will get. And so I just knew that God was not going to waste my life, and it was in his hands. So I wasn't anxious at all. I was like, even if my husband is in China,
Hmm.
he's gonna bring him to me. And that
Hmm.
is what happened. I was minding my business, serving the
But
Lord.
I was not in China.
You
I
were
was
not
in
in
US.
China.
I was in
I'm just
US.
saying, even if even if it's in the utmost end and part of the world,
Just almost part of the earth.
exactly, he would bring him to me
Hmm.
because I'm minding his business. He has the obligation to mind my own business. So focus on, love the Lord. He will not disappoint you. No
Hmm.
matter, nobody, we all have different paths and different, courses. Don't compare your life with any. Your life is in the hands of God, and He has a cause for you. He has a, plan for you. And just relax. He will do it at the right time, at the right time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, my brother Deepo and sister Faithful Additional. You guys are amazing, amazing, amazing. Honestly, you actually qualifies to be instructors in a marriage school. Not only have you shared your personal story, your authentic stories, you've also shared with the audience about things that can actually translate and transform their lives. Thank you so, 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 so much. My regards to your kids. Tell them I envy them so much. Anytime they read those A to Z of finance, I'm like, oh my God, Deepo, can I just adopt me to be one of your kids?
Oh,
Oh yeah, your kids are blessed. So my regards to them. By God's grace,
Thank
we
you.
will not hesitate to bring you back if we still want to
yes, sir.
discuss more. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
having us.
Okay, God
Bye bye.
bless you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And viewers, that was a very powerful session with Deepo and Faithful Adeshina. We want to bless God for their lives. These guys actually shared their stories. They were not putting anything back, and I want to believe they did all that just for me and yourself to really learn. And especially for those that are singles, these are learning moments for us to actually understand what long distance relationship is all about. You heard them actually say that emphatically, that long distance relationship does work, but you also need to do the work. So you got to be committed, you got to be trustworthy, you have to be faithful, you need to build yourself spiritually, be committed to the Lord during this your singles time. When you love the Lord with the whole of your heart, with the whole of your soul, with the whole of your spirit, He will give you a man after His own heart. If you love the Lord with the whole of your heart, with your spirit and body, He will give you a woman after His own heart. So ensure that we use this period of our time to get close to God, to know God, to study God the more, build yourself in your most holy faith, as the Bible rightly recommended. And the same thing, similarly, if you're listening and you're here to give your life to Jesus, this is a period for you to surrender your life to Jesus. This is a moment for you to surrender your life to Jesus, because your transformation actually starts from you knowing Him, and that is at a point of acknowledging the fact that you are a sinner. Jesus died for you, and you surrender your life, ask Him to cleanse you and purge you from your sin, and confess Him as your Lord and Savior. No matter how you pray the prayers, God is going to know that this is my son, this is my daughter. So, until we come your way next time, like I rightly said, for those of you that are actually going to be at the uh, what is the not singles conference, the the Chosen Generation Takeover Conference in Maryland. We're going to connect there by God's grace. So, and we're not going to be having this talk show in July because, of course, because of some programs, and because of the convention and some additional programs. Until we come your way next time, God bless you. Have a good evening, have a good afternoon, have a good morning. God bless you. Bye bye.